Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Survivor Talks with Mike. For today's coverage of Season 42, Episode 2, I will be taking a slightly different approach. Instead of going through the episode beat by beat, I figured I would go through the three tribes and what they each had going on this episode. So we'll start with the Ika tribe. After being the main focus of last episode, they're a little bit less in the center of the spotlight this time around. They've just voted out Zach, and they feel bad about having to do that. Tori is feeling survivor's guilt for not being the one voted out, but the others are glad that she now feels a little more comfortable with their tribe because it'll make it easier to vote her out if they have to go back next, which is what Roxroy would like to do. But Drea goes to Tori and Swati to form a girls' alliance, staying girls strong, and she tells them about her extra vote that she got from the Shipwheel Island. Swati and Tori immediately turn on her, saying that they should try to get her out before she uses her advantages against them. At the challenge, they come second, making them safe, and they get a smaller set of fishing gear. That's all we really get out of the Ika tribe this episode. We'll move on to the Vati tribe. Jenny and Chanel are being providers looking for food, and they manage to find a crab. Chanel says that she thought that someone else on their tribe would be able to be the provider. She didn't think that would have to be her, but when no one else is, someone has to step up, and that ended up being her to do that. Hai is a vegan, and he's struggling with needing to eat meat. He's having a tough time with it, but he eventually convinces himself that it's going to be all right if he eats meat out there, and he tries some of the crab and says it's good, but he feels guilty. And Chanel and Daniel both comfort him when he's going through his tough moment with that. We then see Mike find an idol, and it's the same as last season where they have to say a phrase to activate it, and all three tribes have to have found their idols and activated it. And until that point, he doesn't have a vote. He says he wasn't really planning to tell anyone if he found an idol, but because he doesn't have a vote, he feels he has to bring others in. He tells Jenny because she's his closest ally, and then he tells Daniel to try to gain another ally. Daniel tells him not to bother activating it yet, not to say it, which I think is smart. I think he shouldn't be saying it until more people would have theirs. But if everyone's not saying it, then it's never going to be activated. And this is exactly what Daniel wants, is for the idols to never be activated. And so he won't say the phrase yet, but if they have to go to tribal council, they maybe could just vote out Mike, and then that gets rid of the idol being on the table in the first place. At the challenge, they end up finishing first. They were last to get to the puzzle portion of it and ended up coming out on top at the end of it. They worked together really well to solve it and listen to each other. So they are safe and they get the full set of fishing gear. And now for the Taku tribe, who were the most complex tribe of this episode. Marianne's energy is getting on Mariah and Lindsay's nerves. They're having a tough time handling just the way she acts, and think that it could be tough for 26 days. Omar shares that he is Muslim and says that he'll be going off to the beach to pray. He's not going out to look for idols. And if they have any questions, they can ask him about it. Jonathan says that he's Christian. If he has any questions about that, they can ask him. And Lindsay tells them that she's Jewish, but she's not a very great one, so they probably already know more about it than she does. I thought this was really nice how well they all connected over their differences. I think this tribe was set up with having some drama in mind, especially with the different religious views, but also that at the start of the season they had Jackson there, who was transgender. So I think they were setting it up as if there might be some friction between them, but I like that they've all been like really supportive and accepting of one another's views. It seems like the opposite of what they would have been set up for. Especially Jonathan and Omar, they're connecting over their differences. Jonathan is Omar's meat shield, and Omar is Jonathan's brain shield. Um, and they just seem to be complete opposites, but they just complete each other in a way. It's really fun to see. Jonathan says that he hasn't connected with Mariah yet, and so then we get them talking to Mariah and getting more of her backstory. She says that she's there to try to get over the death of her brother, to find closure for that. And then Marianne at Tribal Council is sad to see that, or not at Tribal Council, at the Immunity Challenge, is sad to see that Zach was voted out last, since she said she had a crush on him. They lose the challenge. Jonathan was their caller for this blindfolded challenge, and I feel like he probably wasn't the right choice. Like, yeah, he's probably loud and his voice carries well, but he isn't the best at puzzles, so I think that was probably what cost them in the end. Even though it was close, they still gave up a lead on the puzzle. The options for Tribal Council seem to be between Mariah and Marianne. Mariah seems like the more trustworthy one, but maybe not as helpful in the challenges, whereas Marianne is more helpful in the challenges, but her energy might be tough to be around for the 26 days. Marianne is nervous about maybe not having a vote since she risked her vote at Shipwheel Island. She starts panic searching for an idol and gets caught by Mariah and Lindsay. Omar says that he trusts Mariah more, but everyone seems to be pretty clearly wanting to vote her out over Marianne. We see a few times where they talk about it and they don't give us the full picture of what they want to say about Mariah. They cut away from it before that. Then at Tribal Council, they build it up as if Marianne is going home. They give her her moment to explain, like, the excitement of being out there, and then also more about finding love in Zach. When they go to vote, Marianne gets her extra vote from Shipwheel Island, and we don't see it, but Mariah plays her shot in the dark. And this time they did it differently, where Jeff read it instead of the player reading it, and it ends up being not safe. But I do think Jeff reading it works a little better. And then Mariah is voted out for nothing. For my thoughts on Mariah, this episode was all we really got to see of her, but they did give us her backstory, and she seems like a very kind person. Probably a little too quiet to pull much airtime from the other big personalities on her tribe, like Jonathan and Omar and Marianne, especially. But she did seem nice. I hope she got the closure that she was looking for, or the experience she was looking for here. My review for this episode felt like a good old school episode. There was an idol found, but all the talk around it ended up being about not using it. They gave us a little bit from each tribe to understand each of their dynamics a little bit more, and gave us the player that was getting voted out's backstory. My only real gripe with this episode was the challenge. I thought they were done with these blindfold challenges. Sometimes you get funny moments, but more often people just end up getting hurt. Luckily, this was an occasion where it wasn't that bad. There was one point where Roxroy got hurt, but we got a funny moment out of that. So I give episode 2 a score of 8 out of 10. Just a solid episode. My predictions going forward, the picture is starting to become a little more clear. I think the Taku tribe will be okay going forward, but if someone has to go for them, it seems likely that it's Marianne, unless someone else does something egregious. The Ika tribe, I think, will go back to losing going forward, and we've seen that several of them are in the hot seat. I think that Tori is actually a lot safer now. She seems to have an ally in Swati and Drea, And Swati would rather get out Drea next anyways, so Tori seems to be a lot safer. As for the Vati tribe, uh, they just seem to be the best tribe all around. Daniel seems to have gone straight from the bottom to the top. Him and Chanel seem to have the control to dictate their tribe's direction. Mike might be in danger if they decide to just vote him out entirely and keep the idol out of play. But it seems like Lydia and Hai aren't as integrated with the rest of the tribe now, seen as we've seen Mike and Jenny, and then now Daniel got brought in, who was also bringing in Chanel. So you have a strong four there, and then Lydia and Hai are on the outside for them. But overall, I think the Vati tribe seems pretty safe. I now think that my top choice for winner would have to be Omar. He'll have Jonathan as a shield going forward, and I'm starting to see more of the edit as helping him to look good, and they seem to go to him for his thoughts quite a bit. Uh, Still pretty early, but that seems to be who's at the top right now. Uh, that's all for this episode. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, hit like, and if you want to see more, subscribe.